Welcome to Don't Fear the Weight podcast with your host Vicky bringing together science and personal experience.
Hi guys, welcome back to the next episode of Don't Fear the Weight podcast with me, your tiny Titan host, actually in a Titan coaching t-shirt today. That's one for the box, isn't it? I don't normally do that. And on the other side of the screen today, I have got with a monster t-shirt, a monster of himself, Mr. Chris Jones. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show.
No worries at all. I'm very excited about this one because this one is, as you all know, I just wing these kind of things because I'm certainly not professional in any way, stretch of the imagination. But I am excited about this one because myself and Chris have got a shared passion of what pisses us off about the fitness industry at the moment. And this is what we are going to talk about, hopefully in great detail, but not too much that you're going to get bored about it. But first of all, I'm going to hand over to Chris. And Chris, if you can just introduce yourself, give us a little bit of a background about who you are and why I've decided to have this conversation with you today.
My name's Chris Jones. I run a brand called All or Nothing Fitness and Nutrition. So we've been going for about 3 years, and the main reason I got started in the industry, which is what we're obviously going to talk about, is that obviously I've got a passion for helping people, and that's what me and my team of coaches do. But there's just this overwhelming trend in the industry of quantity over quality, where people are just looking to maybe dish out meal plans all over the place and just kind of make as much money as they can, but they're losing sight of the fact that we've got an industry that's got millions of obese people in it every year, and that's never getting any better. But there's more and more people in the industry, like coaches like us, I guess, that are just making more and more money from it. And the message that we put out at Team All or Nothing is, you've obviously seen some of the content, and it's sometimes a bit brutally honest, but I think there has to be that kind of push in the industry to try and wake people up a bit, and not just be a sheep and just follow what they see on social media. And that's what frustrates me and my other coaches. Is we were just having a discussion about this yesterday around the whole clean eating thing, and we have got a few clients that have came to us, and it's always the number one thing that you see on any consultation that people's tried before, and it's this whole clean eating, or what we say is trying to put a square peg in a round hole that it's never going to fit that person's lifestyle. So we're all about getting results and enjoying what you do, because they're not mutually exclusive. I think people assume that you have to suffer and hate what you do in order to get the results. So that's what we're trying to go against. It's hard, obviously.
Very hard.
You do feel like your voice is drowned out a bit, but hence why we're quite no nonsense kind of approach. And it seems to be doing, I mean, don't get me wrong, it seems to be working to a level. There is, some people may not like it, but tough shit. That's the way it is.
Absolutely. And I like that as well. A lot of people actually like my approach because of the simple fact that we do the no bullshit thing. You know, because bottom line is, like you were just saying, this whole quote unquote clean eating thing, people can still get overweight by clean eating. Yeah. I mean, look at those pesky avocados, right? They're cheeky little bastards, but people are like, oh, it's clean, it's healthy food. Yeah, one avocado is like 200 calories. Welcome to being in a calorie surplus.
I'd seen a plan that was sent to me. It's funny because I normally wake up every other day now when I've got a message from someone or I'm tagged in something that's, look at the mess of this plan. Can you do a rant about it? And I'm like, well, I'm not going to. I've been down that route before where I've maybe specifically called someone out for what they did, and let's just say it didn't end very well. So I don't now name or specifically do that. But if it triggers someone in a negative way, then obviously I think they need to look at themselves rather than the content, because obviously something's triggered them. about that, and the plan said something like it was the usual 6 meals or whatever, and it just said, green veg. It was like green veg or avocado. I was like, well, that's not the same thing. Or if you're hungry, you can snack on nuts. I'm like, well, how much? Like 100 grams? I mean, yeah. So there's so much of that goes with the clean eating that, as you say, you could easily get overweight with eating avocado. So I'd said to someone before, if you're wanting to lose weight and you had 100 grams of almonds or 100 grams of gummy bears, what would you go for? And the woman was like, oh, the almonds, obviously, because they're healthier. I was like, well, no. I was like, there's far more calories in the almonds, so you would go with the gummy bears. Obviously, if you're going to get hungry, then don't go with the gummy bears. But she was like, I don't get it. I'm like, well, obviously you don't get it. I was like, that's the way the industry is. So, yeah. So the clean eating thing is really, really pisses me off, because it just kind of tells people that things are good and bad, or clean and dirty, and straight away you're having, that's an eating disorder, to be honest.
Correct.
It's not anorexia or anything like that, but it's an eating disorder.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. It's known as orthorexia, isn't it? So it's the fear of non-natural foods and the fear of going over a certain amount of macronutrients and calories in a daily intake. So it's this new kind of found eating disorder. And we had a little chat about it previously, didn't we? Which is obviously what brought me on to bringing you onto the podcast. And we've both had clients who have come to us from previous coaches who have literally been broken. And we've had to realistically treat them as teenagers again, haven't we? So tell me a little bit more about an experience that you've had from there.
Well, probably the best one, the one I'm most proud of, was a girl who, she just competed recently, so you've seen the pictures. And we started working together last summer, last Easter, I think, and she'd competed in 2016. She'd done not bad. She got to the British finals. But you can even tell when you look at the pictures now, like dead behind the eyes. And she had been literally starved to death to get on stage. And we were talking about it at the show on Sunday, and the difference in her face from what we done, which I'll talk about in a minute, was like night and day. And you can see the difference in her face, that she enjoyed it. And when she was prepping for the show last time, her carb up on peak week was, in one of her meals, she had 30 grams of rice. Now,
cooked or uncooked? Wait.
It wouldn't really matter, but yeah, cooked.
30 gram cooked? Shit, that's like that much, isn't it?
A tablespoon. And she even said, do you mean 30 grams of carbs? And he's like, no, 30 grams of rice. And I've fallen out with that coach before, and actually, she's now banned from training at his gym because of just stuff that he didn't like the content I was putting out. I mean, I never ever named him, but he obviously knew what I was talking about. So we got her ready for this show. So when she started with us last year, she was coming out the back of a really bad rebound. Our food relationship was terrible. So it was a struggle to get her to come back up to, like, we got her up to like 3,000 calories. Nice. And she went up to about 130 pounds, which she's not a big girl anyway. And it was a little bit of a struggle, but we'd done it in a way that she had what we call, I hate the term cheat meal as well. So it's like a macro meal. So you just really have kind of macro guidelines, and you kind of have what you want for that meal. So that can be dinner with the kids or whatever. So it just feels normal.
Yeah.
And then when we started dieting, we kept all of that the same. We just obviously had, well, the calories obviously go down, but she was literally having a Sunday roast almost every week, right up to about 2 or 3 weeks out. And she's the best she's ever looked, and she enjoyed it. So I think it breaks that stigma of, if you're not eating boring shit food out of Tupperware, then you're not going to be in stage condition, which is bollocks, right? You can get shredded eating pretty much whatever you like. Now, obviously, it depends if you can handle the the things that come with it, like the hunger, and it's up to you if you can mentally handle it. But just having chicken or rice or whatever is just. I don't think she had chicken and rice the whole prep. I mean, I didn't tell her to have that. She might have had it, but she was flexible in what she had, and she was still having dairy right up to the show. She was still having protein shakes, sweeteners, diet juice, protein pancakes, like all of that. And she looked incredible on stage. So I think
she felt better, right?
She felt better. She never once felt the good thing I found is before the show, she didn't have a big box full of sweets that everyone buys to, right? I know. She didn't do that. She done it 2 years ago, but this year she didn't do it. She had like an Indian curry after it, and she got heartburn from it. So she just went back to kind of normal the next day. And I've actually not spoke to her this week, and I've told her literally just have the whole week doing what you want training wise, and I'm not even worried about her going and binging because she doesn't feel that she has to. So she's got another show in 4 weeks, so I could give her the full week of just relax. And then I know she showed me last night she's still got abs. So
well, they're not going to disappear overnight, are they?
I know. Well, mine's did after my show, but then I went with I had abs for about 2 days.
Yeah, that's it. That's interesting, actually. Let's turn that round on yourself. So obviously, Ashley. Oh, sorry, I don't know if you wanted to name drop there. Ashley won't mind me talking about it. Ashley, you looked incredible, babe, and I'm very, very pleased that you had that smile on your face. But let's turn it around on you then, Chris. So Ashley still had abs, obviously, 2 days or at the end of the week post her post show, and you only had abs for 48 hours, and then so. What happened with yourself? Were you actually back in the day the clean eating guy, and then you did have that epic binge with the box full of Hershey's chocolate and stuff? Yeah,
I was I done a video on it a while ago that when I came out of my show, so in 2016, I was dieting from January to October. So it was a couple of shows, April, May, then the main one in September, then the British finals in October. So you're pretty much dieting kind of on and off, but you're dieting all year. And I did work in an office, so it was really strict meal times that I would eat at 6:30, 9:30, 12:30, 3:30, and then whenever I got home and I had Tupperware, if I didn't have my Tupperware, I didn't know what else to do, so I'd panic. So I did do it once. I didn't take my lunch into work, and I didn't eat anything.
Really? Because I didn't. So you actually broke the metabolic fire by doing that, right?
I know, and I put fat on during that 3 hours. So I didn't even go out to the supermarket and get. You would normally just go and get some chicken or whatever, but I didn't even, because I didn't prepare it, I didn't even do that. So I know it's pathetic. So after the show, my kind of taste buds completely changed. So I was always someone who liked savoury, so crisps and things, and it totally changed. So now it's cookies, muffins, and all that stuff. So when I left the British finals, I literally went round Tesco, and my wife was following me, taking things out of the basket, because I was just putting everything in, just boxes of muffins. Oreo cookie, the ice cream sandwiches, nice. Just fucking loads of stuff. And we went for a Five Guys before that. And I was lying in bed doubled over in the hotel. And then the next day it was well, what do I do now? Yeah. I didn't know what to do. And then I went into train, and I didn't know how to train because it's like an anticlimax. So I went back to still weighing things, and I couldn't get out of that Tupperware mindset. And it took me a long time. I managed to do it myself, and that's why the way Ashley is now makes me proud, because she did have Tupperware sometimes because you have to when you're out, but she never went down that route. And the main thing for me is always anybody that I put on stage, in my opinion, if they win, which is good, But if they come off stage and they just go off the rails and they're not supported after it, then that's not a success, I don't think.
Correct.
You've got a picture for your Instagram, but well done. Speak to that person in 2 months' time and they're a total mess.
Yeah, when they've gained, like 16 to 20 pounds.
Yeah,
they've been their complete reverse, or they haven't got a reverse at the end of the day. In fact, let's touch on that as well. I really like the fact that you're exactly like me. So we've both gone through a bad prep. We've both gone through the Tupperware. We've both gone through the bro style. And I think everybody has, until obviously this new evidence came out to say, well, actually, do you know what? You can eat cookies, you can eat crisps, you can eat muffins, and you can still get shredded. Now, the health implications of that, we're not saying that that's all you should eat, because obviously that's ridiculous. You have your internal factors that you need to take care of as well. But what about, in your opinion then, let's have a look in this one, because this one's quite a controversial thing. Now, Ashley got shredded. She looked good. She looked dry as well, right? And even for a figure competitor like herself, and she looked bob-on. She actually looked, can I voice my opinion? Is that all right? I've spoken to you about it beforehand. I personally think she looked a lot better in her second show than she did in her first one. She came out really nice and full, not as quite as hard, which can sometimes detriment some figure competitors. And you actually fed her up a little bit more into that second show, didn't you?
Yeah, so we decided that because the second show, we knew that it wasn't a level playing field, because we knew we were going in, she's a natural competitor, so we know the other show isn't a tested show. So you are still going to have some of the girls who have maybe used some performance enhancers. So, but we accept that, we know that. So we went into the show and said, well, we do want you to look a little bit bigger. Now, she's not big anyway. She was like 108 pounds, like on stage. She's like 5 foot nothing.
Featherweight.
But the second show, she was about 3 pounds heavier, but still pretty shredded. Not as dry, but shredded, and she just had a little bit more fullness in like her lats and her shoulders, which I think helped push her up into that. So there was 6 competitors in the main class she done, and she was in. She came third. So I was pretty happy with that. You could tell that the winner deserved to win. So the winner, you could tell, let's just say, wasn't natural. But we know that because it's not a tested show. So as soon as the winner came out, I knew in my head, okay. So we're kind of battling for second and third. And I think, again, it was just a little bit. I think the girl that came second she looked more imposing. She was taller. So she looked a little bit bigger again. And then Ashley, I think Ashley was still the most shredded on stage. But the other girls just had a little bit more of that muscle. So, I was really happy. And I think she was still lean enough that they had to in the first category. They done toned figure, but they actually split it. It was a bit of an anticlimax there because they split it into toned figure and athletic figure. And so there was like one in each. So she like won that one. But the 2 girls standing on stage, like I had Ashley winning anyway. So that was a bit of a disappointment initially. But when she went into the second one, I was pretty happy with how she did. And we had to make her that bit fuller. And I liked that look. So I think we're going to try and do that again for the UK DFBA one.
Yeah, definitely. So the reason why I was asking you about this is because there's been a lot of controversy about the flexible dieting macros, and the fact that obviously a lot of the foods that are quote unquote unclean, let's use that word just for obviously this example, have a lot of higher inflammatory markers on them. So you can withhold water and you can have more of a watery film across your body in your off season, and it's not obviously that beneficial for building muscle. So what's your viewpoint on that?
Yeah, I think when we go through an off-season with clients or athletes, we tend to, you're right, with certain foods that it gives you time to figure out the ones that they do respond well with and the ones that don't give them that too bad an inflammatory response, and then we just keep those and use them in prep. So I think people, you do see it all the time when it's maybe the lead up to peak week or whatever, and they they start to just throw in, like, no, maybe not cookies, but
Pop-Tarts.
Pop-Tarts and bagels and things that they haven't had on prep. And I don't know where that comes from, that they just assume that now is the time to put in the fast junk that's going to make them look that 10 times better. And when someone's having like a cheat meal and they go and have like pizza and ice cream and all the rest of it, and then the next day they say, oh, but I look so much fuller. And in fact, you're like, well, inflammatory response, like you said, you don't, 2 days later, you looked the same, back to the same as what you were before. So that inflammatory response, I think, can be something that's going to trip you up on prep if you are using that look going on stage, because it's not really full and tight and dry. It does have that kind of watery effect, but then people turn that round and they say, oh no, it wasn't that, I spilled. You're like, no, you didn't spill.
Crap, no, you didn't spill.
Didn't spill on stage. Or the other one is when they carb up without drinking water.
Yeah. The dry carb up to make you dry it.
Carb up and dry out. And it's like, well, I think they think that the water that's under the skin gets drawn with the carbs into the muscle. And I'm like, you don't even like know how the body works. Like, the body's not going to break the fluid balance because you're eating a bagel or something. It's just mental, like, to think that they can trick the body into breaking that balance. And no matter how many times I explain it, and I send people to people like certain guys in the industry like Lane Norton, have done a lot of work on that, and I've told them there's the proof. Nah. Well, I know how I look. You're like, oh fuck, okay.
Yeah, exactly. We'll just take it now. I think it's amazing how these bros can literally think that they can outsmart. What year are we in? 2018. Over 2,000 years of evolutionary processes and biological mechanics of your body.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm a bro and I can outsmart the body. Yeah. So I can disrupt homeostasis just to make sure that I can get that 1% drier. Oh, and I need to have that glass of white wine previously as well. The bottle of white wine pre-night, because that's going to help. And as long as they've been eating tilapia to thin the skin, then, all boxes tick. All boxes.
And the thing is, like, it doesn't help when you've actually got people in the industry, like real gurus or pro bodybuilders, like IFBB pros, who are saying, and I'm not going to name the name of the pro, oh, fuck it, it's Phil Heath, I don't really care, saying like, you need to switch from sweet potato to yams because the sweet potato's got too much water in it and you'll hold water. What the fuck? Like, I posted about that before, but I just get totally shot down because, well, he's Mr. Olympia, so it works for him. I'm like, no, it doesn't. So you can't really win a lot of the time. So unless you're taking diuretics, you're never going to change the body's balance of water, like intramuscular to extracellular. Sorry. So the water just goes up and down. It's not like you can drop. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
People just assume they can do that. And I did see one guy at a show 2 years ago, and I was sitting with his coach, and his coach literally said, as he walked on stage, he hasn't been drinking water. And he could tell because the night before when he was eating, he obviously just got like prep brain, and he continued eating carbs and didn't drink anything. And he looked flat on stage. Because obviously you pull the water out of the muscle to help digestion and stuff, and so you look flatter. And he did admit, I was stopped drinking water.
Yeah,
and it was proof that that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, and it happens all the time as well. It does happen all the time. The amount of people that have come to me saying, "Oh, this is my peak week plan." I was like, "Why the hell have you got a peak week? Are you ready?" Well, yeah. So then the week before should be no different. What kind of magic do you think you're going to drop in the last 6 days to make you look absolutely perfect? This should be a week called Don't Fuck It Up week.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what I called was, yeah, if don't change anything, because if it's not going to work, you're fucked week.
Yeah.
So, so and when we started the peak week with Ashley, and she did say, right, what are we doing? And I'm like, not doing anything.
Yeah.
Like, okay, your cardio's now pretty much stopped, and the carbs will slowly come up, but that's it.
Yeah.
Don't need to do anything else. Don't need to have. The only thing we did do, and I've never seen Ashley so vascular in my life, was we used, so it was like an hour before stage, because again, I don't get the people you see like literally backstage before they go on eating rice cakes.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah, stuffing them, thinking
that's
funny, like just before they're about to go in and stuff. Yeah,
it's in your stomach, so
yeah.
It hasn't done anything. So like an hour before stage, she had like some of that dark chocolate with the, now you get the one with the pink salt in it.
Oh yeah.
So it had, and it's quite nice. I quite like it. So it had the sodium, and then she had some like citrulline malate, which if you need to drink that and it's not flavored, it's pretty disgusting. But she's like a champ. She just necked it and pumping up backstage. She came out. I was like, holy shit! Like it was like an hour before she had that. So obviously it had time to like get into the system, and it looked ridiculous. And when she came off stage, her arms were just like a roadmap. Yeah. So there's little things like that I would maybe try again with her. And I knew it wasn't going to do anything bad to her physique. So there's those little things. But yeah, I've been backstage before, and there was a guy on the stairs at the British Finals waiting to go up on stage. So we're literally on stage pretty much, and he was finishing like a rice cake and peanut butter. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it's just mental how people get sucked into all that. Yeah. And coach knows best, so trust the process. I'm like, well, okay.
Do you know, that's one thing that we can go on to, the trust the process thing. Don't ask, just do. Now that pisses me off to high heaven. Like serious high heaven. So my little rant about that one, right, is that all of my clients get an individual YouTube video about their feedback every week, right? They've got 2 official check-in days with me a week. Once a week, they get a personalized YouTube video, and I explain every single change that I put down and explain to them why I'm doing it. Because bottom line is, I want to educate them so that when I am no longer their coach, they can go off and they can continue the lifestyle knowing what to do, right?
Well, that's coaching, isn't it? So
yeah, exactly. So other coaches, though, however, regardless of whether they're just a nutrition coach or whether they're a full physique coach or a very well-known coach in the industry with thousands and thousands of followers, one-line emails. Do this next week.
Yeah. Now, same plan of attack next week. Like,
and it's like, well, how am I looking? You know, are you happy with my physique? Am I on the right direction? Nothing. No feedback about that. Just like change nothing or do this.
Yeah, which at the end of the day, it isn't coaching. That's the kind of the last gym I was at, which I now don't train at because I would probably get a kicking if I went back, was the direct debit coaches. Now, that's kind of what I call them, because they just tend to rack up as many as they can. But that's, I mean, I'm more about having a brand that I can retire on. Do you know what I mean? Rather than just an online coach who goes month to month needing more and more clients. Because you can't keep doing that. And I'm the same. One of the best things we added this year at the turn of the year was the YouTube video feedback thing. So we do that as well, and we put it as an unlisted video and they get a link to it. And it goes down really well. I mean, some clients, it's funny, some of them watch it, some of them just prefer maybe like a voice message or just a big WhatsApp message, but everyone's different, I guess. But the YouTube video does work quite well. And we sometimes do as well, after we have the onboarding call at the beginning, we do like once they get the plan emailed, they get a link to a video that's normally about 10 minutes long that explains everything in it, from their training to their nutrition and what their check-in process is going to be. And that's the way we follow through, because as you said, you're not a coach unless you're doing that. So
no, exactly.
Anyone can rattle up somebody some macros and then give them a meal plan with 6 meals on it and say, right, do this.
Yep.
And I'm sitting on about a dozen of these absolute dog shit meal plans that I could quite literally go to town, but I've just decided, you know what, I can't be bothered with it. The last time I did it, people were messaging me, clients going, have you seen what he's saying about you? I'm like, I don't care.
No, exactly.
So I'm just not going to do that. I mean, I'll still push out the message, the general message. And if it triggers people, then good. And people have sort of, I guess I've polarized people in the industry, and that's what you kind of have to do. People are going to love what you do. People are going to hate it. That's fine. If people have got no opinion of you, then that's bad. So I'm quite happy with that. I get the odd message from people saying you're being negative. Why do you? Fuck off. Like, I mean, that's being negative, but I'm like, well, I don't care. Like, you're not someone I would probably be marketing my services to. Yeah. So I don't care.
No, exactly.
And I did think about changing my approach before, but then there was more people that says, no, don't, because then you're going to just piss off the people that do like you.
To be honest, though, it's one of those, isn't it? Because I've always said it, and I say it on my Instagram stories a lot of the time as well. I will never, ever, ever have a bad opinion of you unless you give me a bad opinion to have. Yeah. So I have had the utmost respect for a very well-known coach in the industry for a very, very, very long time. Until I actually spoke to them and saw his protocols and saw what was going on behind the scenes, and that they were very, very open about the fact that it was, I've got to be careful about what I say, but very open about the fact that nothing was personalized, nothing was individualized. And then all of a sudden it was like, do you know what? Now I've got a bullshit opinion about you. And I say the exact same thing on my Instagram stories all the time. And it's just like, do you know what? If you follow me and you like what I do, ask questions. I've got no problem in speaking to you. I love to talk and I love to give advice because advice is free, right?
Yeah.
If you don't like me, you don't like my protocols, you don't like what I say, there is an unfollow button for a reason.
Yeah.
You don't have to listen to what I say. You don't have to listen to my opinions. Same thing goes down for the meal plan. I have different approaches with different athletes in different realms of what they do, because I coach powerlifters as well as, performance athletes like rowers and squash players and various other things. They all have different protocols that they need for their nutrition, because we're not just looking at things from an aesthetics point of view. We're looking at things from a performance point of view as well. I just had a girl, and it is very, very funny. I literally just had a girl who I co-coach. I do all of her nutritional programming for her. And she just competed in the world's powerlifting yesterday. Now, she was on a distinct meal plan because she had to make weight. We literally had 50 days to get her to lose over 3.5 kilos.
Yeah.
We had to do it safely. She did it safely. She never lost strength. She's just got a bench record for Great Britain. She hit PBs on the platform. She was amazing. And we did everything in correct protocols. Now, even though we're like shouting from the rooftops, yes, she's done Ace, she's done Ace. Do you know what? We still had negative people coming through and say, do you know what? She looks too skinny.
Fuck. And it's like, well, it's nothing to do with that. Like,
exactly. Yeah. And it's just funny because it's just like, I was not dieting her to make her look amazing. I mean, she looks sick, don't get me wrong. She's got an 8-pack and she looks strong, but she was being protocoled and programmed to actually perform.
Yeah.
And she's only a tiny tot. She's 4'11". She needed to be 47 kilos and under. We brought her in at 46.8. I couldn't have got her closer if I bloody well tried. But she slept well. She still maintained her menstrual cycle. She was still eating. She was still lifting heavy all the way through, and we did it safely. But you still got that one person who goes, well, she's too skinny. Fuck off, she's too skinny. She just lifted a 72.5 kilo bench.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it's all about.
But I guess that's like Instagram and social media. It's all about the visual. So when people see us as coaches, then they just expect aesthetics. So they don't care what that person's specificity is. They just want to see if she's ripped or not. And as you say, everyone's got different goals. And we just had a guy who is actually Ashley's husband, who is a boxer. So he came on with us and he wanted to win this Scottish title that he's been chasing for years. And he's always done the usual drastic water cuts and all that kind of stuff. And went into fights like with no energy. So we worked with him to bring him down. I think it was about 5 or 6 kilos in about 8 weeks. So it was fine, but I think there was a bit of, let's just say, social events during that period. So obviously they're not physique guys, so they don't really care as much about how they look, but it still affected his results. So the last couple of weeks, I was down at Body Power the night he was getting his weigh-in. So obviously I'm constantly on my phone checking, and we brought him in at and all we did literally was the week of the fight was just slowly taper down his carbs, not remove them, but just bring it down, because obviously the water's going to come out, and he made weight by like 0.5 pound. So, and he had the energy, like his training was still really intense. And he told me on the phone at Body Power, he said, I could see it in the other guy's eyes that he looked done. But the thing is, right, my guy, he still didn't win the fight, because he went in the first 2 rounds, he was dominating this guy, and then just, I think, a right hook that he just did not see coming. Like, just totally floored him.
Got it.
So that wasn't anything to do with his nutrition, I guess, but
no.
Yeah, I know. But he went into the fight full of energy. We didn't put him in a sweatsuit and put him in a sauna.
Got him to spit.
Got him, yeah. I mean, he was even worried about not, because his scales might be different from the ones at the venue. And I was like, well, go and do the toilet, or I was like, have a coffee and then go and do the toilet, but he made it, and it was, so we don't just do, we've got clients we've got a girl that's just starting, actually, I'm going to send her plan out later, who's really, really at the beginner level. So literally, she's not getting any meal plan or any calorie counting or anything like that. It's just like simple portion control, a bit more structure with meals and simple things, rather than building her up to like tracking her calories, because that's just never, it's going to just put them off straight away. And then you've got physique athletes at the other end who are banging their macros like so close. So, and everything in between. So like, yeah, that's what I enjoy about doing, is being a coach, that we've got people in the team that can lend the hand to, whether it's performance-based coaching, or we've got my sister, she's actually in Vietnam. So she's a coach out there. We've got some clients in Asia, and she's the geeky one. She's the sort of science-based. So she's a doctor in immunology, and she's got experience with like immunonutrition. So she's quite good to use if you're wanting to kind of call something out. Like we just done a post recently on probiotics and why they're bullshit. And I just sent it to Lee, and Lee was like, I was like, could you write something on this? And she's like, yeah, no bother. And she also done a video once on the dairy and the whole holding water thing. And it's good because it's coming, even though it's coming from a background of someone in research, that it isn't just about working with rats in a lab. I think people think that. So it's someone who's qualified to say all of this, but you still have the bros who will say, no, well, I can't have that in mind because I'm different and my body will do this. I'm like correlation doesn't mean causation, right? Because you did that doesn't mean to say it was that caused it.
Correct.
But that just sort of confuses people, I think.
It does. But I think one of the major issues is, like you were saying, it is about knowing people, and it's about the following that people have. Some of the brightest minds in the industry, regardless of whether it's nutrition, scientific research, bodybuilding, powerlifting, whatever, some of the greatest minds in the industry have like 600 followers on Instagram. So they're just not known. So the message is not kind of blanketed. But then the bros in the industry, who obviously do get the titles, who do go on stage, who do use all of the assistants and things like that, people in the natural industry, especially young guys who are coming up through the ranks, they look up to these IFBB pros and world winners and that kind of thing, try and follow their protocol. But the fact is, on social media, their protocol is very, very bro. There was one thing that came out on them, and he doesn't have a lot of followers, but it was just, again, one of those things where I'm there going, God damn it. Why you are taking creatine wrong? And it's like,
what, taking it wrong? What, like injecting it? Or
yeah, exactly right. Well, you fathom this, right? How can you possibly take creatine wrong? Creatine monohydrate. Why you have been taking it wrong all this time, and you're not making gains from it? Any idea?
And I don't know. I mean, so apart from through the mouth, I don't know. Like, I'm a bit concerned as to where it's meant to go.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, apparently, according to this guy, we've been taking it wrong because we drink it in cold water and cold juice. You can't do that. You've got to take it in hot water, because otherwise, if you drink it in cold water, it goes down to the stomach and your stomach acid breaks up the amino chains.
That's not even bro. That's moronic. Like,
It was a really old school bro myth. Like, we're talking about like 20 years ago, maybe 24 years ago, that you've got to do that, and you have to take it with calcium piconate or chromium piconate or something like that. Can't remember what it is. Which, by the way, I have to say, I think that product that he actually stated you need to take it with it, that's banned in natural federations.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, all right then. So yeah, that's probably not a good thing to do. But it's this kind of thing that still exists, and meal plans that come out that's like, you've got a lean bulking protocol. I
hate that lean bulking. Right. So lean. Hey, if I was to take this, probably why I've got this jumper on, I'm not lean at all. Like, if you want to do a lean bulk, that's fine. If you want to do it naturally, it's going to take you about 3 years, right? So
to gain a pound.
to gain a pound. I mean, I'm 34 years old, so I'm like pissing into the wind every year for a pound of muscle. So I'm just like, I don't really care so much about my weight's at a point where I know I can maintain roughly where my weight is at and still push my strength up. I'm at like 200 pounds just now, roughly. If I start to go over that, I know I'm going to start to just look bad. So I'm happy that I'm not lean. I know the reasons why I'm not lean at the moment, and my abs are still there somewhere. I don't really care about them. It's just, as I've said it before, if you're going to do a bulk, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. Sure, you can do mini cuts and stuff that maybe even then, I think people overuse them too much. And they'll maybe go like for 8 weeks and go, oh, I need to do a cut. And you're like, what? Like, in 8 weeks, you've probably not gained anything, really. And you want to do a cut.
Glycogen refueling, that kind of thing, yeah.
Like 6 months, maybe, then do a mini cut, possibly. But I just don't like them, because I just can't, it's almost like unless I'm doing a diet for a show now, I don't really care. It's like,
yeah, exactly. Keep right. I mean, it's like with powerlifters, it's slightly different as well, because a lot of powerlifters now, I'm trying to eradicate the idea of that just being
fat,
exactly right. This is exactly what we were having a chat about the other day. So mass moves mass, correct, to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're fat doesn't contract. So fat will not help you move a weight any more than being a little bit leaner and using that muscle tissue to contract and move weights.
Yeah. I mean, your mobility for a start is going to be restricted if you're carrying far too much fat. And you're just going to be like, it's just going to be uncomfortable from a physical point of view just to even get set up to do that rep, rather than being. And one of my old coach, actually, who is good, the other one before that's an idiot, but first one, he took his friend who's a powerlifter, and he was kind of the usual kind of fat guy, and he got him not shredded, but got him lean, muscular, athletic, and his lifts all were going up.
Yeah.
So that whole, you've got to, and the thing is as well, I don't get why powerlifters feel they need to ram in loads of carbs and get, because they're not going to be using carbs over that explosive one rep.
Not for one rep, definitely not. And it's people who, there's some other guys who are obviously dead famous in the industry in powerlifting as well. Again, they are assisted. They're not raw lifters or anything like that. They're assisted lifters. But they're just like, yeah, go keto for powerlifting or go keto for strongman. And it's just like, well, strongman, that's fucking ridiculous. You cannot go keto for strongman. You know, I'm sorry, you can't. Picking up a yoke and running with that thing as a drop and turn is you are going to be using the glycolytic system. So you are going to need some carbs in your system. Now, off-season guys for powerlifters, I have mine on, realistically, they're on high fat, but they're also on a high carb, you know, and moderate protein, because bottom line is as long as you're hitting a decent amount of protein, then you don't need over and above the odds. But in terms of their off-season programming for it, they are going to need some carbohydrate because they're going to be doing some kind of conditioning work. They're going to be doing their accessories and that kind of thing. It's only when it really comes to that meat week that we tend to go, okay, let's bring down your carbs a little bit, get you a little bit more comfortable, less bloated. You've made weight already, so we don't really mind about that. And then on the day, that one rep max, you're not going to be using any kind of glycogen stores whatsoever. You're just going to be using a completely different energy system. So completely agree.
But then I suppose you do see like the food that gets packed away by certain people like Eddie Hall and all these guys, and then guys that are wanting to look up to that, and then they go, well, that's what I need to do then. I need to get my calories up to like 8,000 a day. You're like, no, you don't have to do that. Like Eddie Hall's over 6 foot and like 26 stone. And actually, he's not, for what he is, like he's not massively flabby. No, you can actually see the outline of abs, which is weird. And I'm like, fucking hell, the guy's like 26 stone and you can see, I can't even see my abs. So I think people look up to guys like that, and that's what they just think they have to do.
But you see, the thing is with it, they don't actually appreciate what Eddie puts in. So he puts in, I mean, he actually came from an athletic background. He was a swimmer. So he's extremely cardiovascular fit anyway. But apart from the fact that he was doing these big lifts, he was still doing 10, 12 reps on dumbbell presses. His endurance needed to be up. He was still logging over huge chains and training like that as well. The guy put in a hell of a lot of conditioning work. He put in a lot of cardio and a lot of endurance training because he was a strongman. You know, you need all of that. And of course, he's a big guy. He's got a big frame. He does need those kind of calories. But it's where you get to that point where people just think, oh, I'm a strong man or I'm a power lifter, so it's a good excuse to get fat. And then they just think it's funny that they can eat all of the food. And it is. It's ludicrous. It's one of those things that, again, piss me off about the industry. But we are going on for a really long rant, Chris. And I think people have kind of done all of their cardio to death and driving home now. So is there anything else that you really want to kind of hammer home as your last kind of pissed off rant?
No, I mean, I think I've pretty much got, I mean, there's so many other avenues we could go down with slimming clubs and all that kind of shit. But I think in the programs that have been on the telly the last few days that I had to turn off the truth about carbs and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yes, the truth about carbs by the overweight doctor.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I know the beige carbs, which I had this morning for breakfast. They were good.
Indeed.
So yeah, I could go on for days about it, but as I said, like we're just trying to kind of, and anybody that's going through our like challenges and 6-week plans and like premium coaching, they all have that education, and nobody really we don't really have repeat customers, which is good. If you've got the same guys coming back and back like all the time every January or whatever, then something's not right. So that's quite good. So that's what we're trying to push away from, and it seems to be working. obviously you guys have noticed it, so that's good. But yeah, it's frustrating, but yeah, we just need to keep doing what we're doing.
Absolutely. Well, I've got absolutely loads more to rant about. So maybe following on from this podcast, we can do a Facebook Live or something. So anybody who wants to ask us any questions, we can go on about a rant on those kind of things, because we do share the same passions, which is brilliant. So Chris, just before we go, just tell everybody where they can find you, where they can follow you on the socials, and I'll make sure all the links are in the comments underneath the video.
Yeah, so on Facebook, we are there as All or Nothing Nutrition, Instagram, All or Nothing _nutrition, and we have our free kind of community group on Facebook, which is The Truth Behind Fat Loss with Team All or Nothing, or Team AON. And that's good. That's went from like 10 people to like 1,300 in 6 months, I think.
Nice.
So it's growing and everyone's coming in, and it's effectively just somewhere people can get answers without falling down that Google black hole. That's what we're trying to do anyway. It seems to be working. So
fantastic. So I'll make sure all links are in the comment section below. And guys, if you do have any questions for myself or Chris, then please put them in the comment section again. And I'm very much up for doing a Facebook Live with yourself, Chris, and we'll see if we can organise that one as well. So guys, again, we will put some times and dates up for people who want to listen to it. So thank you once again, Chris, for giving up an hour of your time this morning. I've really enjoyed the rant. And thanks, guys, for listening and tuning in. And I will speak to you all again in the next episode of Don't Fear the Weight. Take care now.